Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by the all-new 2017 Honda CR-V. With revamped cargo space, it's the biggest fan yet.
Rubber match of this three-game series between the Blue Jays and Yankees, and yet another beautiful day and evening here in Toronto. Again, the roof is peeled back at Rogers Center as the Yankees send Sonny Gray to the mound tonight. Marco Estrada on the mound for the Blue Jays before the Blue Jays welcome in the Pittsburgh Pirates for some interleague play over the weekend. Here come the Blue Jays onto the field. Last man out will be tonight's starting pitcher, Marco Estrada. This field level action cam is brought to you by the Samsung Galaxy S8. Unbox your phone. Estrada looking much better his last three starts. He hopes to carry that into tonight's outing against Joe Girardi's New York Yankees, who scored 11 runs, had 17 hits in last night's game, and as of tonight, bring outfielder Aaron Hicks back off the DL. Out about 6 weeks with an oblique injury. Needed some damage in the first part of the season when he saw the Blue Jays. And speaking of damage, Gary Sanchez has 4 hits in his career off Marco Estrada. All 4 of them are home runs.
Marco's making his 4th start against the Yankees this season. He has not won a game since May 27th. It's been a long drought for Marco, but as we mentioned earlier, his last 3 starts have been pretty effective. He's 4-7 for the season. ERA way up there at over 5, but he is now throwing the fastball to his good spots, making good pitches with it, whether it's down and away or up and in. He is riding that fastball into that strike zone. And he is also using his changeup very well. For a while, he was trying to guide the changeup. Now he's throwing it, and that's much more effective. His arm action on the changeup is just like that of his arm action with the fastball, and that's when he is most effective. Defensively in the outfield, you see Ezekiel Carrera. He was a late addition to this outfield as Kendrys Morales was taken out of the game. He has become ill, and he is not starting tonight. He was the DH, so Bautista moves into the DH spot. Zeke moves out in the outfield. His 9th start in right field, and this is the life of an extra man. You don't know if you're going to be in there from the start of the game, in the middle of the game, or at the end of the game, so you have to come prepared to play every single day.
Ready to go here at Rogers Center. Jerry Meals, the crew chief, is the home plate umpire tonight. Estrada is ready. Brett Gardner is stepping in, the leadoff man for the Yankees. Meals waiting for Gardner to get set. And now away we go. Gardner on the season hitting .257. He's got 19 home runs, but he's had kind of a quiet couple of days here in Toronto. He is 1 for 10 in the first 2 games of the series. But still a guy who can beat you with power, can beat you with speed. He was the center fielder as Donaldson alertly quickly gets to that ball, maybe fearing it was going to spin back into fair territory, and he would have had no play had it done so.
Yeah, Josh can smile about it now because he gets to it in foul ground, gets a glove on it. Once he touches it, it's obviously foul. But there's no telling where this ball will end up. You can see he's got a lot of spin on it. And Donaldson alertly moves over there to make contact with it in foul territory to make sure it's foul. And it's still spinning.
Like a cue ball.
Hit that right off the end of the bat.
Gardner started the Tuesday night game in center field, last night in left field. Tonight he's the DH. With Matt Holliday on the DL bucket, sounds like the Yankees are going to rotate some people through the DH spot. Joe Girardi could have Gardner there. He could have Judge there once in a while. He could have Gary Sanchez there. Chase Headley's been there. You see more and more teams doing that.
Yeah, this is the only the 6th time Gardner has been the DH this season.
Shows bunt, pushes it towards Donaldson. It's a good one, but it will roll foul. No smile from Donaldson on that play, and again he had no choice but to hope it went foul.
I asked Gardner how he's handling this DH spot. He says, you know, this is the first time I have DH'd here at Rogers Center, and because there's no batting cage on the visiting side of the ballpark, you can't keep loose swinging the bat. So he's going to figure out where he can get loose. He's going to get some stairs, keep his legs loose. But he said, I don't mind missing the final game after playing the first 2 games on this hard surface here.
2-2 the count. And a good changeup to get him.
Yeah, and that's been the difference for Estrada over his last 3 starts. He is throwing that changeup, not trying to locate it, not trying to guide it, but because he really throws it with that fastball arm action, the grip takes the velocity off the ball. It's got 4-seam spin, looks like a fastball out of the hand, and you can see how far out in front Gardner is. The ball's not there yet, and he's already completed his swing.
Now Hicks. Really had a terrific stretch in the first part of the season. And overall, the numbers are still very strong. 290 with 10 homers. We mentioned it was on the DL with an oblique injury for the last 6 weeks. Just activated and inserted back into the lineup tonight. Had a stretch in May, June where he reached base in 21 consecutive games. And a versatile guy, switch hitter, can play all 3 outfield spots. He's been a very valuable performer for the Yankees when healthy this year. Curveball, 1-2.
Yeah, Hicks has made 11 starts in left, 36 in center, and 4 in right. So he is versatile, and he basically won the opportunity to play every day on how he played against the Blue Jays here at Rogers Center earlier in the season. Hicks this season against the Blue Jays hitting .417 with a homer and 10 RBIs in just 7 games.
He takes the roster spot of rookie Clint Frazier, who went on the DL with an oblique injury of his own. 2-2 the count. High pop up back of first. Smoke in foul territory, still backpedaling there for out number 2. So now with 2 down to the bases empty, here is Aaron Judge. And you can see a big difference. He's really taken advantage of the friendly confines, for lack of a better term, of Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, he's hitting 100 points better at home than he is on the road, and the OPS is over 1. But he's still hitting the home runs, and the thing about Judge, he's in his first full season, you know, because he had so much success early in the season. You have a tendency to think and forget that he's a rookie. And he is just getting acclimated to all these different ballparks. Even the Blue Jay fans, that is true. He has made a lot of fans up here. Last 2 trips he's made to Rogers Center, signing a lot of autographs, giving of his time.
2-0 is high ball 3. Another impressive showing in batting practice today. Aaron Judge hit a couple off the scoreboard and hit 1 to the left of the scoreboard. Citizen to the right of 714. Under that, where those 2 people are sitting in that hotel room, he hit one right about there during batting practice today. Draws the walk. 83rd walk drawn this season by Aaron Judge.
That's a Yankee rookie record. He broke that record of Charlie Keller set in the 30s 2 nights ago. And he's a terrific young player and certainly learning more and more about hitting in the big leagues on a daily basis.
And I think that's how the Yankees are kind of looking at it. Yes, he is struggling to hit. He's striking out more, but he's still taking his walks. But there is some concern hitting under 200 still since the All-Star break. The strikeouts are up. Here's Didi Gregorius, the shortstop, hitting in the cleanup spot again. Hit a home run last night, one of 3 home runs for the Yankees, and 18th on the season for Gregorius. And look at this, another one, and again Donaldson's going to come over to make sure it doesn't come back fair.
Yankees must have practiced that earlier in the day. Hitting that ball off the end of the bat, see if they can't keep it fair. Same spin off the end of the bat. That's what that changeup will do, because the hitters are out in front, and watch this ball spinning in foul ground. I mean, it is really spinning, and if it catches, hits some soft dirt, it's liable to kick right back into fair territory. So that's why Donaldson jumped on it as quickly as he could. Gregorius looking at the end of the bat. If that bat's a half-inch longer, he's got a base hit.
0-1 the count. 2 down and a man at first. Just underway here in the top of the first at Rogers Center. Blue Jays winning the opener on Tuesday night. Yankees winning 11-5 last night. Short lead by Judge, and Gregorius takes down and in. Judge does have 6 stolen bases on the season. You look at him and you say, man, 6'7", 282. I don't think he's going anywhere, but you can't just consider that to be an absolute certainty.
No, he's a good athlete. Everybody thinks he's just a power hitter, but he can throw, he can play in the outfield, and he can run.
Fair ball past a diving Smoke. Carrera into foul territory, comes up with it, and being held at third is Judge on a double by Gregorius.
Gregorius has 3 home runs against Estrada, and now he's got a double in his first at bat tonight. Smoke's a very good first baseman, but watch how he bounces off the ball and then the ball's hit back over the bat. That's the toughest play for a first baseman, especially a left-handed first baseman. The Judge can run, and watch him go first to third on this ball. He sees there's no play there, easily breezing around to third base, picking up the third base coach, and sees the stop sign.
So the Yankees threatening now with 2 down in the first, and as we mentioned when we showed you the lineup, Gary Sanchez has had a lot of success against Marco Estrada. 4 home runs off him, hit 2 in the same game last August, and hit 2 more in a game on June the 1st of this year. All 4 hits that he's had in his career against Estrada have been home runs. He hit one last night, his 18th of the season.
Sanchez last night leading off in the second inning. It's a breaking ball from Nick Tepish and hits it deep to center field over the wall, and he had been struggling a bit last couple of games. He's starting to connect once again and hit the ball out of the ballpark, but he is strong, and we saw it last year, and he's continued to pick that pace up.
He hit 20 home runs in really just a couple of months last year as a rookie, as Estrada misses just inside. Martin liked the location, but it's a couple of inches in. 1 ball 1 strike on Sanchez.
And that home run last night was his 4th in his last 12 games, and he hit homer just once in the previous 21 games, so he's starting to swing it again.
Judge at third, Gregorius at second with 2 down. And again a little bit inside.
But again, when Estrada's missing in this at bat, he's missing off the plate, which is a good thing. You don't want to miss out over the plate to Sanchez.
And it looked like a cut fastball.
Yeah, he got top of the strike zone. He wanted that to be down a little bit, but it was up, and he got the call from Jerry Meals, home plate ump.
A ton of 4-seam fastballs and changeups, and every now and again a curveball, every now and again a cutter. Let's see if Estrada goes to his changeup. He throws it more often than any other pitcher in baseball, about 33% of the time. Two-two, curveball, and blocked by Martin, a full count.
Yeah, I mean, he tried to really snap off a good one and bounced it in the dirt.
Todd Frazier waiting on deck should the inning continue. Started off with a strikeout of Gardner, pop up by Hicks, but then Judge walks, Gregorius doubles, and it's now a full count on Sanchez.
I'd throw the curveball again on this 3-2 count.
Fastball, swing and a miss. Inning over. Big strikeout for Marco Estrada here in the first inning, and the Yankees leave a couple of men on. Going bottom of the first here at Rogers Center. Jose Bautista in the leadoff spot again as we take a look at the Blue Jay lineup. And Bautista's had some success against Yankee starter Sonny Gray in his career. 6 for 15, including a home run against Gray. And Steve Pearce moved up to the 5th spot of the lineup when Kendrys Morales was scratched due to illness. He's been hot lately, and he's been trouble for the Yankees every time he's faced him this year.
He's always hit well against New York. He is going to face Sonny Gray, and Pearce hasn't hit well against Gray at all. There are the numbers for 17 starts for Gray this season. 6-6. He's thrown 103 innings. You can see the left-handers 212 average. Gray is throwing a changeup now, and it's a hard changeup. He's averaging 90 miles an hour with that changeup, and the Blue Jay hitters are going to approach the changeup as if it were a two-seam fastball, because it has the same characteristics, and you'll see it throughout the course of the game. He grips it with 3 fingers, but it's much like King Felix changeup of the Seattle Mariners. He throws it hard, but boy, it's effective.
Away we go in the bottom of the first. Bautista's got a couple of home runs in his last 3 games, 18 on the season. He'll be followed by Russell Martin and Josh Donaldson. And a swing and a miss at the first offering from Gray. So the Blue Jays saw Sonny Gray on July the 25th, just 16 days ago. His last start as a member of the A's. You can see a very kind of methodical, slow delivery. And I don't know if it kind of messes with the timing or lulls the hitters to sleep a little bit, but then little guy, slow delivery, but a pretty big arm.
Yeah, and he will vary it up, much like Marcus Stroman. And it takes a good athlete to do that, because you maintain your balance and you don't lose any of your effectiveness. Of course, we know how well Stroman uses it. Sonny Gray went to Vanderbilt, works out all winter long with David Price, and he picked this up from Price, how Price has a very quiet delivery and gathers himself over the rubber.
And he gets Bautista.
There's the changeup at 91 miles an hour, and it's got a lot of late movement. He used to be much more of a fastball, breaking ball, straight changeup pitcher, but now he's incorporated this pitch, and you see he kind of throws it with a split grip, but it's like 3 fingers on the baseball, and it has terrific movement down out of the strike zone. He'll use that pitch a lot with 2 strikes.
It's funny because most pitchers and pitching coaches will tell you ideally they want that changeup to be 8 to 10 miles per hour slower than the fastball to really mess with the hitter's timing. Sonny Gray's more like 3 miles per hour slower than his 4-seam fastball. In with a strike to Russell Martin. Martin got the night off last night. Rafi Lopez got the start last night, catching Nick Tepesh. And Martin back in there tonight, hitting .227 with a dozen homers. Infielders basically straight away. Outfielders slightly to the opposite field against Martin. Takes a little bit high, a ball and a strike.
It's really interesting how players' deliveries, pitchers' deliveries have changed so much over the years. Pitchers used to use a pump action windup, a windmill windup, where they gathered a lot of momentum. But now pitchers are starting to be real quiet, like Marcus and Gray, just trying to disrupt the timing. You can see Marcus is really locked in on Gray here tonight, saying, I like that style.
Do you think it's because before radar guns were that common, people thought they had to do a big windup to throw harder, but now because of radar guns they know they really don't?
Yeah, I think that has something to do with it. And I also think because they don't pitch a lot in the minor leagues, they don't have time to refine the windup and the delivery, so they simplify things.
There at the knees, 2-2.
You know, we're trying to cliff note everything in the world now, and pitchers are the same. If they can figure out how to throw more strikes, they know they're going to move through the minor leagues, and you can do that without a windup and say, okay, I can change speeds and throw a lot more strikes out of this abbreviated windup.
Bit of a different situation, but Joe Biagini became so comfortable pitching from the stretch that when he went back to starting with the Blue Jays, he stayed in the stretch, but now one of the things he's working on at Buffalo is going back into the windup again now that they're stretching him out as a starter.
Yeah, and I think they're doing it the right way by removing him from this atmosphere and allowing him to work on that in the minor leagues.
Full count on Martin. Up and in, ball 4.
Sonny Gray just joined the Yankees, and you look at his last 7 starts, and it goes back before the trade, and obviously you want to pick up a pitcher that's throwing well at the trade deadline, and Sonny Gray was pitching to a 159 earned run average. The opponent's average under 200, and the opponent's batting average runners in scoring position, they were just 7 for 35, so they picked up a hot pitcher, and he actually was let down by the Yankees defense in his first start with New York.
Josh Donaldson, and he takes a breaking ball over the outside corner for a called strike. Donaldson, who hit a couple of home runs in the Tuesday night game, hitting .253 on the season. No score, bottom of the first. Martin the runner at first, being held on by Cooper, and Gray facing Donaldson. Sonny Gray, by all accounts, a very competitive guy, not at all intimidated by New York or anything like that. He came up with Oakland in 2013 and was a sensation right away. Pitched to a .267 ERA in 12 appearances as a rookie, and then pitched twice in the postseason that year, and both times matched up with Justin Verlander, game 1 and game 5. Verlander got the best of him in one of those 2 games, but overall the numbers for Gray were terrific in the playoffs. Great year in 14, great year in 15. Not as good last year, was on the DL with a forearm injury for a while, and started this year on the DL with a shoulder injury. But now that he appears to be healthy, it looks like Bucky's getting back to being the Sonny Gray of his first 3 seasons.
He's throwing a lot of strikes, and his pitches are effective. There's that changeup again, blocked by Sanchez. That's the one thing the Blue Jays are going to have to be aware of, because Gray throws so many of those pitches, especially when he gets 2 strikes. You have to be alert on the bases. Any short, wild pitch, ball in the dirt, pass ball that gets by Sanchez, you got to be ready to take the extra 90 feet.
One, 2. Popped him up. Ran it in on his hands, and a play for Frazier, the third baseman, 2 down.
Take a look at the defense behind Sonny Gray. Hicks is back in the outfield. He's in left tonight. Ellsbury making the 57th start in center. Ronald Reyes, he doesn't get much credit on his team because of all the stars they have around him, but boy, he is a valuable person for this team. He can play short, he can play second, he can play third, and he swings the bat. Last night he got a big base hit in the 8th inning to drive in 2 with the infield drawn in, shortened up his stroke, and jumped on the first pitch and picked up 2 runs.
Justin Smoak, high fly ball to right center field, fairly deep, but it's playable. Ellsbury is there, and that's all for the Blue Jays here in the first. No score at the end of an inning.
the game in style, the Acura Luxury Suites are for you. Perfect for entertaining clients, corporate functions, or outings with family and friends. Entertain from 16 to 300 guests. Our account executives will find the package that best suits your needs. For more information, call 416-341-1635 or go to bluejays.com/luxury suites. Dan, Buck.
Sean, thank you. Lots of folks in the suites tonight here at Rogers Center. Blue Jays, and when the Yankees are in town, obviously that's always a big draw. Todd Frazier leads off the second for the Yankees. The third baseman, who was one of 3 Yanks with a home run last night, his 19th of the season. One of the 3 players they picked up in that deal with the White Sox. He'll be followed by Jacoby Ellsbury and Garrett Cooper here in the top of the second. And Estrada right down the middle with a fastball for a strike. Frazier had himself quite a night last night. 3 for 4, home runs, scored 4, drove in 3. And he's taken 2 fastballs for a strike.
Yeah, and he's probably thinking, hey, you guys told me this guy throws changeups. Those are fastballs. Sometimes too much information can paralyze you. Gonna get another one. Last night, Frazier, facing Taylor Cole, gets hit on the elbow and really got smoked right on the back of that left elbow, right on the point of the elbow, and you can see he's in a lot of pain. Stayed in the game, but it was removed later for defense just to give him a break. And there's that changeup.
Disappeared on Frazier. Still looking for it.
Well, and Marco has thrown a couple of outstanding changeups so far, and he's been able to rack up 3 strikeouts. He got Brett Gardner with a changeup in the first inning, and here he gets Todd Frazier with a very good changeup. The super slow-mo brought to you by the Samsung QLED, the next innovation in TV. Shows you how badly Frazier was fooled, and he was pleading to the umpire, hey, I think I foul tipped it.
Here's Jacoby Ellsbury. Ellsbury hitting .243 on the season. Missed a fair chunk of time with a concussion earlier this year. Now just trying to get a little bit more regular playing time. Hicks is back, so really got 4 guys for 3 spots, and there's another one of those cue balls.
Yeah, I told you they worked on it. They're trying to get one fair.
Yep.
Donaldson said, hey, man, hit it hard.
Yep. Hey, speaking of Taylor Cole, we saw him in that highlight from last night. The young man from Las Vegas who made his major league debut last night. Remember the comebacker that hit him in the foot, bounced to Darwin Barney, and it eventually went for a base hit. They couldn't make a play on him. He stayed in the game. That was the first batter in his 2nd inning of work. And he stayed in for several batters, but it was discovered after the game he suffered a broken toe and was placed on the 10-day DL today. So Chris Smith has been recalled from Buffalo. But for Taylor Cole, I mean, you talk about an up and down day. Make your major league debut, have it not go the way you want it to, then find out you got a broken toe and hopefully a speedy recovery, and he'll get a chance to pitch again this season, obviously. And so he'll be on the DL for at least 10 days. It was described as a relatively minor fracture, so hopefully it won't be too long.
And Chris Smith is back with the Blue Jays, just called up from AAA Buffalo.
Another good changeup. That one, different action on it than the one that Frazier struck out on.
But again, we mentioned how Marco was trying to guide that changeup earlier in the season, and now he's throwing it with a lot of confidence. And you can see how his entire body suggests that's a fastball. But because he spins it so well and he's got such a soft grip on it, the velocity is totally gone, and the hitters have been out in front of it.
So 3 of the 4 strikeouts have come on changeups for Estrada. As now Garrett Cooper, who's having himself a heck of a series here in Toronto, lines one into the alley to right center. That'll be a double, and Cooper is now 7 for 9 in this series.
He was just the 2nd Yankee to collect 4 hits since 2000. Gary Sanchez did it in 2016, a Yankee rookie collecting 4 hits in a game, and that's just a good approach, and that's the approach we have seen from Cooper. He's thinking right center, right field almost every pitch, and he's been able to come up with a lot of big hits, and he splits the gap in right center for a 2-out double.
So just like the last inning, Estrada retires the first 2, then the Yankees try to get something going. Here's Ronald Torreyes reaching for it, pops it up into shallow right center. Carrera is there, and that's the inning. A 2-out double, but no damage done. Blue Jays coming up bottom of the second. No score.
Inside the Rogers Center, which is still likely a building that has a special meaning for Sonny Gray, because it was exactly 4 years ago to the day, on August 10th, 2013, that Sonny Gray made his very first MLB start. It was a good outing for him, except Jose Bautista gave him a bit of a welcome to the majors moment. A deep 2-run home run in the bottom of the first. Bautista ended up going 3 for 3 that day. I talked to Jose earlier today. He said he specifically didn't remember that game, but what stands out to him about Gray is that every single time he has faced him, he said that Gray attacks in a different way. He said the key here tonight is just to prepare and make sure you know exactly what Gray is throwing at this point of his career. Guys?
Sean, thank you. Sonny Gray figures to be a big part of the rotation going forward for the Yankees. If they are a playoff team, wouldn't be a shock to see him be a Game 1 starter. Luis Severino, very young but very talented. He could be a Game 1 starter, but also Masahiro Tanaka potentially because of his body of work, although he's had an up and down season. So the Yankees with some options, but Gray really figures to pitch some important games the rest of the way for the Yankees as they battle for a playoff spot. The Yankees have only been to the postseason once in the last 4 years, which by their standards is very low, and that one was a wild card game and they lost it. So they haven't won a playoff game since 2012. Steve Pearce leads off the inning for the Blue Jays. Got 11 RBIs in his last 11 games. Again, he was moved up to the 5 spot in the lineup. The Jays announcing about half an hour before game time that Kendrys Morales was a scratch due to illness. So Pearce moved up to 5. Bautista went to DH. Carrera went into the lineup in right field. And apparently Nori Aoki is also under the weather. He came down with a fever after last night's game, and we were told he might not even be at the ballpark today. Didn't see him at the ballpark before the game at all.
Well, and one thing that you're worried about as a team is when one guy gets sick like that, everybody's going to come down with something. So they try to isolate those guys that come up with it and hopefully keep it from spreading throughout the clubhouse.
3-0 on Pearce. So if Morales and Aoki are unavailable, that means the bench tonight is Rafi Lopez and Darwin Barney. Short bench at the best of times in baseball these days, with bullpens being so much bigger than they used to be, and the Blue Jays appear to have only 2 bench players tonight. Again on the outside corner, full count.
Yeah, he couldn't have placed it any better on the outside corner. Pitch 4 and 5 in this sequence. Fastballs away from Steve Pearce.
(3-2) and a swing and a miss as Gray battles back from a 3-0 count to get him.
You look at the lowest ERA in baseball since June 25th with a minimum of 6 starts. Sonny Gray is the best. We mentioned he is pitching just his 2nd start with the Yankees, but he was on quite a roll as he was getting closer to that trade deadline. Aaron Nola, the Phillies, Lanston. James Paxton tonight is going for his 8th consecutive win which would be a franchise record for the Mariners.
Ezequiel Carrera will take a strike. The Mariners right now in a playoff spot. The Yankees have the first wild card spot. Seattle the second entering play today, with Kansas City and Tampa Bay a game back. Minnesota a game and a half back. And the Blue Jays are 5 out of the second wild card spot right now, but with a whole bunch of teams, 6 teams they got to jump over. Well hit. Deep center field. Off the wall on the fly, and Carrera is into second base with a double.
Carrera is such a valuable guy, as we mentioned at the start of the show. He wasn't in the original lineup, but he is always ready to play as a pinch runner, as a pinch hitter, as a starter. He gets a four-seam fastball from Gray up out over the plate, and he barreled it up, hits it off the wall in deep center field. Zeke has now hit in 4 straight games in which he's had an at-bat, and he is 4 for his last 5. So he is a valuable guy that jumps to the lineup on short order.
And he's got himself in scoring position for shortstop Ryan Goins, who drove in a run last night with a double to left center field, his 41st RBI on the season. Going to try to bunt for a base hit, and he bunts through it. 0-1.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that right there with Pilar on deck, a right-handed hitter. You know, Ryan's been very productive with runners in scoring position, and yeah, you think, okay, get on base, but at the same time, he's been so good at driving in runs. I'd rather have him swing 3 times than give one away with that bunt.
We talked last night about how productive he has been with runners on base, and especially runners in scoring position, hitting .323 with runners in scoring position, and that's how, as a part-time guy, you managed to be tied for 4th on this team in RBIs.
Smoke has 392 at bats. He leads the team. Goins has 263, and he is tied for 4th on this team. Donaldson as well. He doesn't have many at bats. JD has just 249.
He's thinking about it again. Looked like a pretty good pitch, but the Blue Jays might have gotten a break there, and it's ball 2.
Yeah, Sanchez, the catcher, is looking back to the home plate umpire, Jerry Meals, asking, did I miss something? Did you call that a strike? Because the last time I saw it, I thought it was a strike.
Maybe the activity of Goins squaring, Sanchez kind of coming out of his crouch, getting ready to throw down to second. It might have complicated things, and the Blue Jays will take the break with the count now in Goins' favor at 2-1. And a bit of a late strike call there. Now Goins is a little unhappy. It's 2-2.
Just wanting to make sure where it was. Thought maybe it was inside, but getting confirmation from the home plate umpire that it caught the inside corner.
Look back at Carrera at second, and the 2-2 pitch in the dirt, blocked by Sanchez, a full count.
You know, it's easy to get on umpires, and a lot of us do. Of course, fans always do. But when you watch where Jerry Meals sets up behind the catcher, Goins has his hands out over the plate. Meals has got to look around those hands, get in a spot where he can see that inside corner. Sanchez is trying to pitch Goins inside, and he's got a lot to deal with just to get a clear look at that strike zone.
Goins trying to run off the pain after that foul ball. Sanchez will give him a bit of a break by walking a new ball out to the mound.
And that ball down and in with a little movement, you top it, it goes right down into your feet. All the ball players in the other dugout will give you the dog barking as if somebody kicked your dog when you do that, because it hits on your dogs and it hurts. We have seen some people break bones. Remember Matt Williams many years ago, he broke shin bone, and Jermaine Dye did the same thing, shattered his shin bone when he fouled them all off. And
Danny
Dustin
Tartable
Pedroia,
did too.
yeah.
Dustin Pedroia, yeah.
Yeah, the umpire trying to find a slot inside to get a look at that strike zone.
Pickoff throw goes into center field, and Carrera gathers himself and comes to third.
Well, Sonny Gray committed an error the last time he started, and it led to 4 runs. It was a batted ball between the mound and first base. He tried to make a heroic throw to second and threw it into the outfield. And here's that play with Morales hitting. He's got a force play at second, but he airmails it into center field, and that would lead to all 4 runs he gave up. They were all unearned because of his error, and he's committed another error to put Carrera at third.
Infield in for the Yankees. So now if you're Goins, maybe the approach changes a little bit. Got a full count, infield in, 1 out. Thinking about trying to get him home by getting the ball in the air.
It has changed all year long when he's had runners at second and third, and he's done a great job. Currently riding a 9-game hit streak, getting 333 over those 9 games. Got a chance to put the Jays out in front early.
8th pitch of the at-bat. Again the 3-2. Fouled off.
I think a lot of people would like to see Ryan have this approach with nobody on, where he is very short to the ball. He's just trying to drive that guy in, and his approach is, all I got to do is put the ball in play, get it to the outfield, and that's going to get me a run, get my club a run on the scoreboard. But if he had this same approach, I think he'd be able to hit 250, 260, and then he becomes a legitimate everyday player.
Pitch number 9. Runners coming home, and safe at the plate is Carrera.
Gray is a terrific athlete. We mentioned the comparison to Marcus Stroman. They're both very good athletes, and Gray used his glove to shovel it to Sanchez, and Carrera got a good break on it. Broke on contact and put the onus on the defense to make a play. Watch Carrera at third. Boom, he's off and running, and now Gray's going to have to shovel to Sanchez. Great slide by Carrera. Went around the tag, and Sanchez did the right thing. Once he caught it, he is able to block home plate. He slides that left knee over toward the plate, but it's too late. Carrera, with a terrific slide, scores the first run of the game.
Well, that slide looked good live. It looked great on replay, didn't it? And that's a fielder's choice and an RBI for Goins, his 42nd RBI on the season.
Boy, he did a good job of locating the inside of that plate and then swiping his left hand across it. I didn't think he touched the plate initially.
He's worked up a sweat. Double, taking third on a throwing error, scoring in a cloud of dust at home plate, as Goins draws another throw.
Ezequiel Carrera is one of those guys that will always have a job because he's valuable to good teams. He can play all 3 outfield positions. He can run a little bit. He's got a little pop, but he stays ready to play all the time.
Kevin Pillar, the batter. Runner goes. Swing and a miss by Pillar. Throw down from Sanchez. They got him easily. Hit and run was on, but Pillar could not make contact, and that hung Goins out to dry.
Gary Sanchez did a good job. He knew it was a hit and run because it was a late break. So once that Pillar swings and misses, watch how patient Sanchez is throwing this ball. He takes his time, takes a real good position, and then throws a strike to Reyes. No urgency whatsoever because he knew once it was a swing and miss on the hit and run, he had a great chance to throw out Goins.
Back to the mound, and Gray will underhand it on to first to end the inning. But Ezequiel Carrera manufactures a run. Doubles, takes third on a throwing error, and then how about this slide at home plate? The Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead at the end of 2. Top of the third, Marco Estrada, who's had such a couple of such good years for the Blue Jays, but then middle of this season, Buck really got himself into a rut. The walks were way up, ERA way up, but last 3 starts looking much more like himself.
Yeah, it looks like the Estrada we saw in 2015 and 2016, but he went into the month of June pretty good shape. He actually pitched very well early on, but then really got sideways. Hasn't won a game, as we mentioned, since May 27th. It's a long drought.
He's got 4 strikeouts through 2 innings tonight, giving up a couple of hits, both doubles, but the Yankees have been unable to cash in. Top of the order, Brett Gardner, who was one of those strikeout victims back in the first inning. This will get out of play off to the left, 0-2. After this series, the Yankees will head home, and they will start a series with the Boston Red Sox tomorrow night. In fact, for the Yankees, they have 3 series coming up with the Red Sox in the next really 3.5 weeks. 10 of their next 23 games are against Boston, and then they don't play them again after Labor Day weekend. On the appeal, didn't go. Those 2 teams, of course, are 1-2 right now in the American League East, so a lot on the line when the Yankees play the Red Sox this weekend.
And then after that, they'll have that home-and-home series against the Mets. 4 games, 2 in each ballpark.
Then they go right back to Fenway. So that's a big 10-day stretch for the Yankees as Gardner strikes out for the 2nd time.
Hit a home run with any project this season. Home Hardware, proud sponsor of the Toronto Blue Jays.
1 down, top of the 3rd inning at Rogers Center, and Marco Estrada is on top of his game in the early going as we welcome you back to downtown Toronto. He's got 5 strikeouts already. 4 of them have come on changeups. Aaron Hicks popped up his first time up. Hicks just back in the lineup, as we mentioned, just back off the DL, missed some time with an oblique injury. Yankees right now 60-52 on the season. That is a fair ball, bit of a tricky hop at the end. Estrada over just in time. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Sure looks that way. So he's the major league leader in home runs, and here's the American League leader in home runs, Aaron Judge, 35. Walked his first time up. Had a chance to talk to Darwin Barney before the game today around the cage. Remember the pop-up that Judge hit last night? And I asked Darwin, I said, is that the highest pop-up you've ever caught in your life? And he said, absolutely. He said it was up there forever. He said it was up there so long I had time to talk to myself before it came back down. And he said by the time it came down, it was up so high, by the time it came down and hit his glove, he said it felt like a line drive to third because it had built up so much velocity on the way back down to the field.
Yeah, he hit it very, very hard and hit it square. He just hit it straight up.
2-0 curveball in for a strike, 2-1.
You know, talking about that Stanton home run that came off Tanner Roark of the Nationals. It's his 4th home run against Roark. He only has 8 hits, but half of them have been home runs.
Down the left field line, fair ball. And it'll get out of play. Judge into second with a ground rule double. 3rd hit of the night for the Yankees, and they have all been doubles.
Just the 14th double, because most of the time he hits it hard, it goes out of the ballpark. But this time that's a high pitch and he's able to get to it. He put top spin on it, and that's a good thing for the Blue Jays because it stayed in the ballpark. And you can see how it's hooking and dives fair and then bounces out of play on one hop.
And some Judge fans, looks like in the hotel high above center field here at Rogers Center. That's his first hit of the series. 1 for 8 with 4 walks. So for the third inning in a row, Estrada retires the first two batters that he faces, and then the Yankees get a man on. But in each of the first two innings, Estrada got the last out that he needed. He'll try to do the same thing against Didi Gregorius here, although it was Gregorius who doubled off him in the first. You know, it's hard to be good and underrated when you're a Yankee because you get so much attention, but there are so many great young shortstops in the game right now. You think of, you know, Corey Seager with the Dodgers and Francisco Lindor, the Indians, among others. Gregorius is a little bit older than those guys, but his name doesn't get mentioned very often among some of the top shortstops in baseball. And as we talked about the last couple of nights, he's turned himself into a really good player. High fly ball to center field. Lots of room for Pilar. And Estrada gets out of it again. To the bottom of the third. 1-0 Blue Jays. At WestJet, owners care for the company as much as dog owners care about puppies. Aw, puppy. Book now at WestJet.com. Time now for the schedule ahead. Also brought to you by WestJet. We mentioned the Pirates are in over the weekend, and the Blue Jays continue this long homestand with 4 against Tampa Bay before, yes, that's right, the Blue Jays are headed to Wrigley Field next weekend for 3 games against the defending World Series champion Chicago Cubs.
Nice puppy.
Rob Refsnyder leads off the bottom of the third, getting the start at second base tonight. Refsnyder then back to the top of the order for Bautista and Martin. I think there are a number of Blue Jay players for whom going to Wrigley will be a first-time experience, or even if they were there some years ago. You know, guys who've been in the American League most of their careers, or all of their careers, may not have been there before, and it'll be pretty special for them.
Yeah, it will be, especially given the World Series was there and the Cubs are the reigning World Series champs. It's a great atmosphere. And they've done some nice things. The one thing they won't be too pleased about is the visiting clubhouse.
As Refsnyder sends a ball to right field, pretty well hit. Judge back, and he's got it. The Cubs are undertaking an extensive renovation over a period of about 4 years at Wrigley Field. The home clubhouse is gorgeous. They've moved it to a different location underground and really created a lot more space. They've done a lot of nice things on the concourse and outside the ballpark, but the visiting clubhouse is as it was who knows how many years ago. Firstly, it's a trek to get there. You're going to get your steps in and your cardio in just to get to the clubhouse, and it is tiny. It's kind of like Fenway Park. It might even be smaller than the Fenway Park visiting clubhouse.
Yeah,
but
it's like a closet.
Yeah. The only good news is they're not there in September, because once you have the September call-ups and your 25 goes to say 32, then it really gets crowded in there.
Yeah, the young guys got to dress at the hotel.
We'll see. Bautista struck out his first time up. Every day we get a minor league report on the Blue Jays, a look at some of their bigger prospects, and an interesting note on Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who was promoted about 4 weeks ago from A-ball in Lansing up to High A in the Florida State League. He's now with Dunedin, as is Bo Bichette. 1-1 just down at away ball 2. In 25 games with Dunedin, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has walked 21 times. And that's, of course, in stark contrast to the way his dad was. His dad swung at everything, and he'll swing his way into the Hall of Fame. He'll probably get in next year. Got close this year. But for Vladimir Guerrero to go up a level at 18 years of age and to still show that kind of plate discipline is really, really, I think it's an exciting development, encouraging development for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, it is. And he had the benefit of being coached by his uncle, Wilton Guerrero, who was a totally different player than Vladdy, and Wilton instilled that plate discipline. Of course, the Montreal Expos had so many great players that came through their system into the big leagues, and Vladimir Guerrero was one of the best.
Outside ball 4 to Bautista. Meanwhile, a guy who really raised got a lot of people excited back in the spring, Rowdy Tellez, and had a very slow start during the season, Buck, but he's starting to heat up right now.
Yeah, Tellez is on a bit of a hit streak as well. He's already got a double tonight in the game playing for Buffalo, and he is a 9-game hit streak. He went 2 for 4 last night. He's got a double in his first at bat tonight. And yeah, his batting average just over 200, but he's 22 years old, playing in his first season in AAA and starting to make some pretty good adjustments.
Think we'll see him with the Blue Jays in September?
No, I don't. I think it's, you know, he got smoke here. There's not going to be many opportunities. I think he's had a long season. He played a little bit of winter ball last year. You know, let him finish up on a strong note. But, you know, they might call him up just as a little taste to get him up here. He was with the Blue Jays in Montreal at the end of spring training in a home run against the Pirates. Another guy that's really gotten my interest, and he's moved from Dunedin to AA to AAA now, is Danny Jansen, the catcher, and he has really hit. He's hit in every game he's played at AAA, and he was always a catch and throw guy, and then a couple of years ago he found out he needed glasses, so he put glasses on. He's been hitting ever since.
1-1 to Martin. And a little bit high. A flinch there from Jerry Meals behind the plate, but he didn't go up with the right arm. It's 2-1. It just seems like every organization is looking for catching. You can just never have, whether it's a guy you think can be a starter or even just a backup, you can just never find enough good catching.
Danny Jansen, I believe he's played 6 games at AAA Buffalo, and he's hitting .500. This was his 5th game tonight. He's had a hit in every game.
Gray is really working that breaking ball to Russell Martin.
Russell's swinging it a little better of late. A couple of homers and 6 ribbies over his last 8 games.
1-0 Blue Jays, bottom of the 3rd. Ryan Goins with an RBI on a fielder's choice, scoring Ezekiel Carrera back in the 2nd. 2-2 now to Martin. And the breaking ball again, but this one misses away. And we'll see if John Gibbons wants to put Bautista in motion here.
Larry Rothschild just getting used to Sonny Gray, who's making only his 2nd start for the Yankees. I think they will put him in motion. I think Russell can put the bat on the ball. You create some movement on the infield and maybe open up a hole for Martin.
Draws the throw. Yankees thinking along those same lines.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and if you can move a runner into scoring position, you got Donaldson hitting next, and I know Russell strikes out quite a bit, but at the same time you got to take a shot. You got a 1-0 lead already, and John has used the hit and run lately. He has used it more frequently.
There he goes, and a swing and a miss by Martin. And Martin is out at first base. Bautista will take second, but Bautista started the play at first. Martin's not allowed to run on that play, so that throw is inconsequential. But Bautista will take second on the play with 2 down.
Yeah, and they do get Bautista into scoring position, and this is the way they have played recently. They're a little more aggressive on the bases. We've seen a few hit and runs, and Martin was out after the swing and miss because first base was occupied. And Bautista now in scoring position for Donaldson.
And Bautista credited with a stolen base on the play. So even though Bautista's running, he's occupying first at the outset of the play. So because there's 1 out, Russell not allowed to run down first on that play. Well, he's allowed to run. He's not allowed to stay there. Yeah. But once he gets there, they're going to send him back.
And you know what? Joe Girardi's going to talk to Sanchez about that, too.
Yeah.
He makes a bad play right there, and chances are Bautista can score. No reason to make that throw.
That's a situation where batter and catcher alike both didn't read the situation properly. So 2 down after Bautista steals second is the scoring play. And here's Donaldson, who popped up his first time up. This will be foul, well back into the seats down the line. Do you put much of a connection between Donaldson hitting better and him removing that ear flap from his batting helmet?
No. I think what happened was he was just kicking it up in his peripheral vision, and he was trying to make adjustments to it, and he would bend it out of the way, but it would creep right back up there, and he would see it from time to time, not all the time. I just think his swing has come around, and it was coincidental that it happened to be about the time he took that flap off.
Fouled off 0-2.
Without it before, and he only added it, and he told us the only reason I put it on there because it was available. Everybody pitches me up and in. I wasn't concerned about getting hit, but it's there. Why not use it? He wears the elbow pad for the same reason, because they pitch him in so much. But he's quite comfortable now. I think more than anything, because he has so many moving parts to his swing, his timing has come around, and because of that, the hits have come.
The 0-2. Into left field. That's a base hit. Bautista's getting the wave. Picks up with the throw to the plate. Offline. Cut. The throw to second. They don't get him there. Donaldson drives in a run and is safe at second as the Blue Jays now lead 2-0.
Well, there's the value of starting the runner Bautista at first. He gets into scoring position, and then Gray hangs a breaking ball to Donaldson. When Donaldson is right, it doesn't make any difference whether or not he gets full. Watch how he stays on this pitch. He's out in front a little bit, but he's able to extend right through the pitch. Bautista's got his head down. Smoke says slide. The ball is cut off. And look at Donaldson's effort. Watch his left hand. He knows he's got to maintain contact, so he grabs the base with his left hand and is able to hang on and avoid sliding off the base. Torres was there with the glove and maintains contact all the way through the slide. But they are going to look at it because his foot came off the bag before his hand grabbed it. And Torres may have tagged him while the foot and hand were off the base.
And this is where both the runner and the fielder do things differently than the way they used to do them because of replay. And Jerry Meals, the crew chief, with the headset on. Either way, an RBI single for Donaldson, his 42nd RBI in the season to give the Blue Jays a 2-0 lead. Definitely beat the throw, definitely got the left foot on the bag, but the foot then comes off and before the hand gets on. But I don't know that Torres definitively made contact with him during that time period.
Yeah, it looked like, I don't know if he kept the glove on Donaldson's body. He was trying to, and Donaldson sure lost contact with the base. His foot came off before he grabbed the base with his left hand. And it's going to take a while because that one angle, you can't really see the gap between the glove and the body. But Torres, like all middle infielders now, riding the tag all the way through the slide. He reaches for Donaldson, and right there, I don't know if he tagged him or not.
if he tagged him, it was right at the very beginning, and at that point Donaldson's foot might have still been on the bag. Once the glove left Donaldson's body, it didn't get back there until long after his hand was on the base.
One thing that I want to point out on this replay is watch where the umpire Chris Conroy is on this replay. I mean, you can't get better position than he has to call that play. And as tough as that play is, Donaldson beats the throw. Conroy is absolutely in the best possible position, and he's watching to see if there was contact lost by Donaldson. I mean, that is terrific umpiring by Chris Conroy. I don't think he got him.
No, I don't think so either. I'm kind of surprised it's actually taken this long. You can understand why it wasn't a bang bang call from New York, but well, now we have our answer coming, and safe. So RBI single for Donaldson, takes second on the throw. Blue Jays lead 2-0, and they're still batting here. Meanwhile, after the play, Sonny Gray looking at his finger. That almost makes it look like a flap of skin or a blister or something, the way that he's looking at it, but we'll have to wait and see if anything further develops.
Well, it's curious because it was on his index finger. Most of the blisters are either on the middle finger or on the thumb, but because he throws that changeup with that index finger and the middle finger on the sides of the baseball, that might be an issue.
Justin Smoke hit a fly ball to center field his first time up. Had a rare off night last night. 0 for 4, 4 strikeouts, did draw a walk. On the season, still hitting .295, and of course way out in front of the club lead in both home runs and RBIs. Just 2 for 21 in his career against Gray. Sorry, Buck.
First 4 strikeout game of the season for Smoke.
There's that changeup you've been talking about at 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's hard to call it a changeup at 90, but we mentioned it. I asked Joe Girardi about it. Of course, he's a catcher by background. I says, what is that pitch? He said, it's a changeup. It's like King Felix's changeup. It's hard. I said, I thought he threw a few more breaking balls. He said, I don't care what he throws, as long as he gets people out.
Way out in front of Smoke, no balls, 2 strikes. And he gets him with a breaking ball. 4th strikeout of the night for Sonny Gray, but the Blue Jays do add a run on the RBI single by Josh Donaldson. It's 2-0.
The countdown to kickoff is on as England's grand game is set to return. Can Chelsea defend its crown? We'll find out as the new season of Premier League begins. Catch all the action August 12th on Sportsnet and Sportsnet World.
All right, Sean, thank you. Another nice crowd on hand at Rogers Center tonight to see the final game between the Blue Jays and the Yankees, and so far they're enjoying themselves. 2-0 the Blue Jays lead. Ryan Goins and Josh Donaldson have driven in the runs, and Marco Estrada has struck out 5 through the first 3 innings. including Gary Sanchez to end the first, and it is Sanchez here leading off the fourth. Cutter over the outside corner for a strike. Sanchez, Frazier, and Ellsbury coming up for the Yankees here in the fourth inning. You know, as a hitter, you're saying to yourself, okay, he's not an overpowering guy. He's got that great changeup. Maybe I'll try to think along with him. But it's not him you should be thinking along with. It's Russell Martin, because Estrada never, ever shakes off his catcher.
Now, a lot of hitters, a lot of veteran hitters, will hit off the catcher more than they'll hit off the pitcher. Catchers have a tendency to call a game as if they were hitting. And Russell's always been a very good offensive catcher, so oftentimes they become breaking ball catchers, if you will. But Russell's never been like that. He's always been a game caller that does whatever's best for the pitcher on the mound.
Sharply hit, but right at the shortstop Goins. One down.
Super Slow-Mo Cam. Brought to you by the Samsung QLED, the next innovation in TV.
A good effort thus far tonight for Marco Estrada, coming off 3 consecutive solid outings. Really seems to have turned a corner from what was going on back in the month of June. Here's Todd Frazier, who struck out his first time up. It's funny, I mean, everybody's different in all walks of life, but for a pitcher, some pitchers believe I need to throw the pitch I believe in with conviction, and other guys say whatever the catcher calls, I'm going to trust him and just execute the pitch.
It's really interesting that you have Mark Buehrle, who pitched that way his whole career, and when Pete Walker had Buehrle here as a pitcher, then Marco Estrada fell in line with the Buehrle approach. Work quickly, trust your catcher, and just execute the pitch.
Another play for Goins. 2 down.
There's another pitcher in the American League that couldn't be more opposite of Marco Estrada, and it's Chris Sale. And Chris Sale stays on the mound, and he doesn't shake anybody up. Well, what's the common link there? Mark Buehrle in Chicago. So if you execute the pitch that the catcher calls, 9 times out of 10, as long as you execute it, it's going to be a good pitch. And you don't overwhelm yourself with theory. You only overwhelm yourself with execution, and it really simplifies things.
Two down, and the base is empty for Jacoby Ellsbury. And I guess for hitters to a certain extent, it's probably the same way. Some guys probably love video and love getting all the information they can, and other guys just want to go up there, see the ball, and hit the ball.
Yeah, and you know what? It works for a lot of guys nowadays because they have become used to that. And the old theory, and I talked to Yogi Berra for years about his philosophy. I said, Yogi, what was your philosophy at the plate? He said, I looked for the fastball until I got 2 strikes, and then I protected the plate. And that was it.
That worked for him.
But nowadays, and you have so much information, I don't know, you know, I was never a good hitter anyway, but I don't think I would want to know everything he throws, because you would anticipate pitches before you ever saw the ball come out of his hand. I was always on teams that were very good at relaying location from second base. We did it in Milwaukee. We did it in Kansas City. But some of the real good hitters never wanted to know. Hal McRae never wanted to know if we had pitches from second.
Driven to left field. And Pierce is there to win the inning. The Yankees go in order. A good night thus far for Marco Estrada. Sonny Gray on the mound for the New York Yankees tonight. He is all, Buck mentioned this earlier, he is an alum of Vanderbilt University, as were a couple of #1 overall picks, including David Price.
David Price, first overall pick, and Dansby Swanson, also first overall pick. Sonny Gray and David Price work out a lot together, and a lot of the Vanderbilt alumni go back and work out. Jeremy Sowers, Jensen Lewis, Pedro Alvarez, some of the guys that made it to the big leagues. Kurt Casale. I mean, there have been quite a few guys that have come out of that program, and the coach has done a terrific job there of grooming his players for the major leagues. And he opens up their facilities in the offseason so they all come back and work out together.
It's amazing how many pros go back to their college town to work out in the offseason. Steve Pearce up there, first pitch swinging. And this one is going to get back out of play. Pearce struck out his first time up. Pearce, Carrera, and Goins, 5, 6, 7 in the Blue Jay lineup here in the bottom of the 4th inning. A run in the 2nd, another in the 3rd for the Blue Jays, trying to take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. These two teams 6 up and 6 down so far on the season. They'll play 6 more games against one another after tonight. Up the middle, that's a base hit. Sharply hit ball off the bat of Pearce.
The all-new 2017 Civic Si. When it leads off, it leads for good. Honda, proud fan since 1977 and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Again, just another perfect night to have the roof open and have a ball game here at Rogers Center. The Blue Jays up 2-0. They've got the leadoff man on here in the 4th for Ezekiel Carrera, who shows bunt. Todd Frazier's not surprised. He was already way in on the infield and crept in a little bit more. Carrera always a threat to try to get a bunt down.
Yeah, and I would take it off right now and put the hit and run on. You look at Frazier at 30, still in guarding against the bunt, and Carrera might get a fastball. He could pull it through the hole on the right side. They took it off, but he didn't get the fastball. So now the Blue Jays really have things in their favor. Good count, 1-1. Carrera with a long look down at Luis Rivera at 3rd. 2-0, excuse me.
Frazier's backed up just a little bit now, basically even with the bag, but now he comes in a step or two as we say that. Sometimes the threat of the bunt can be as big a weapon as the bunt itself.
Yeah, and now he's probably going to get a fastball here.
Borderline pitch, 2-1.
That didn't look like a fastball. That's that changeup that's hard, and it's got sinking action, much like a two-seam fastball, but he throws it with a split grip. Just hard.
Blue Jays had 1 runner thrown out tonight by Gary Sanchez when Goins was on the move on a hit and run, but Pilar swung and missed, and Goins was thrown out easily. There's the bunt. Gray stumbles a bit, and they just do get Carrera at first.
Yeah, he caught his spikes on this artificial surface here at Rogers Center and kind of grabbed him a little bit, and we mentioned what a good athlete it is. It threw him off just a bit. Watch how he slows his momentum down as he gets to this ball, and then his spikes grab. And there he kind of stumbled, but had enough balance to make the throw to get Carrera. Gray is just a terrific athlete, and you can see how that left foot grabbed that turf, and he looked back down as if to say, man, something grabbed me right there, but he's able to make the play.
So a sacrifice for Carrera. Pearce to second with 1 out. And now here's Goins up with a runner in scoring position again. Got to be some mixed emotions for Goins. He and Troy Tulowitzki are extremely tight, and of course it's Tulo's injury that has allowed Goins to basically become an everyday guy, at least against righties, presumably for the rest of the season. So, maybe his best friend on the team is done for the year with a serious injury, and Goins is the guy who steps into the void.
Yeah, and that's just the nature of the role of Goins. And you know what, his playing time, and it started a couple of years ago. Reyes got hurt, he played at short, and then Devin Travis got hurt, he played at second. And that's when he gets the majority of his playing time, at least to this point of his career.
Lays off low, and it's 2 balls, no strikes. Second start in a Yankee uniform for Sonny Gray. 6 innings, 4 runs, 2 earned against Cleveland in his first start. That was 7 days ago, so he's working on a couple of extra days rest. Two-0 breaking ball misses inside, ball 3. Kevin Pillar waiting on deck. Larry Rothschild taking stock of one of his new pupils, one of his new pitchers, Sonny Gray. And Gray missed again, and he walks Goins on 4 pitches. And after that last pitch, he looked down at the mound as if he landed in a bad spot. Now he just did a little bit of groundskeeping on the mound.
Yeah, different pitchers, they get different landing spots and they tear up the mound. And watch how he reacts as kind of catches his spike a little bit, and he'll look down at the ground and do a little bit of repair work. He landed awkwardly on his landing foot as if he stepped in the side of a hole. And then afterwards he kind of tries to fill it in a little bit.
So 2 on with 1 out. The Blue Jays up 2-0 in the bottom of the 4th. And here's Kevin Pillar. And a breaking ball drops right in at the bottom of the zone. Strike 1.
Gary Sanchez, the catcher of the Yankees, has been in the spotlight the last week. He was benched for 2 games as Joe Girardi wanted him to catch better. This is the first time he's caught Sonny Gray, and he's a tough guy to catch.
Another good breaking ball, 0-2.
If a pitcher or a catcher joins a team mid-season, it's a very, very steep learning curve to try to get up to speed with your catcher if you're a pitcher. The rhythm of his signs, the target, the way he sets up, all those things are intangibles that it's going to take a few games with Gray throwing to Sanchez. And Girardi understands that. He was a catcher himself. It's challenging for a young catcher in the big leagues.
Almost hit him.
Especially when you have talented pitchers that can do a lot of things. They can manipulate the baseball, and Sonny Gray might make up a pitch as he's standing on the rubber and say, okay, I'm going to throw this breaking ball a little slower. Well, if you haven't caught him before, you don't know that, and you can be fooled by a pitch.
That's going to sneak through into left field for a base hit. Pierce on his way home will score without a throw, and the RBI single for Pillar makes it 3-0.
Put the bat on the ball and good things can happen. Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach, out of the Yankees dugout to have a chat as Steve Pierce, who singled to start the inning, went second on the bunt. Pillar just shortens up his stroke, bounces the ball through the hole at shortstop into left field. Pierce gets a good break and comes around without a throw. The Glorious can't make the play. Hicks fields it, but looks up and decides he has no shot at home.
Hit them where they ain't.
With 2 strikes, put it in play. You got a chance. Cut down your swing. Pierce has been really swinging the bat well since he's come off the disabled list. Gets another big hit to start the inning. Acknowledging the Carrera sacrifice bunt.
Beauty Tone, Canada's color experts, available exclusively at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Dan Shulman to Buck Martinez, Sean McKenzie, Rogers Center. 3-0. The Blue Jays lead the Yankees. The old picket fence offense. A run in the second, a run in the third, a run in the fourth. Rob Refsnyder would like to change that and put up a crooked number this inning, as the former Yankee swings and misses. It's 0-1. Fly ball to right field the first time up for Refsnyder. At second, Goins. At first, Pilar. Same pitch, same result, 0-2.
Obviously, the Yankees know Refsnyder very well. So they say, you know what, let's make him hit that fastball inside.
Tried to sneak it in there again.
Pretty good bunch up right there. All three of those pitches down and in on the inside corner. You would think now would be the time to spin one of those balls away and try to get him to chase something off the plate outside. Sanchez going through those outside signs and then flashes a series of fingers.
There's the breaking ball. Refsnyder wouldn't bite.
You know, you see all those different signs, and the outside signs might be the pitch selection. There are so many variables that Sanchez can use. It might be as simple as the first place I touch is the pitch, but he's decoying at least. It could be the pitch, it could be the indicator, it could be the sequence of signs there. There's so many options that a catcher can utilize.
And some of it you're saying just could be a complete decoy.
Absolutely.
Could have nothing to do with it.
Yeah. But it could be as simple as touching my mask as a fastball, touching my chest protector is that changeup, and touching my shin guards is the slider. First spot I touch. And all that other nonsense is just nonsense.
The 2-2. Down low, the count now full on Refsnyder. Goins out at second, and Pilar after the RBI single, he's at first. Gray's up to 74 pitches on the night as he deals with Refsnyder with Jose Bautista waiting on deck. Roller out to second. There's one, and back to first in time to turn the double play. Blue Jays get one, now lead 3-0 at the end of 4. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Jamie Campbell and Kevin Barker are in the Samsung broadcast studio.
We're calling all of our super fans down to the ballpark to enjoy some activities and fun photo opportunities in the WestJet flight deck. The first 20,000 fans in attendance will receive a pair of Blue Jays high socks. It's the Blue Jays taking on the Pirates at 1:07 p.m. Get your tickets at bluejays.com and make sure to get your high socks. Guys.
All right, Sean, thank you. We go to the 5th inning now with the Blue Jays enjoying a 3-0 lead on the Yankees. And it'll be Garrett Cooper, the first baseman. He has been a thorn in the Blue Jays side in this series. He is 7 for 9 with 4 RBIs. Double to right center field his first time up tonight. Yankees picking him up at a deal with Milwaukee. He had been at the Brewers AAA affiliate at Colorado Springs, where he was hitting .366 in 279 at bats.
We have a tendency to discount Colorado Springs.
Yep.
It's at altitude like Coors Field. But I like his approach. He hasn't looked like he wants to pull it at all. He's going to stay on the ball away. There's that changeup that floats in there. If I were going to try an area to exploit him right now, it would be in. And it would be in with the fastball.
Looks like that's what they're doing. Well, they tried to, but he got to it. Pierce will hold him to a long single.
This 4K broadcast is brought to you by Samsung QLED TV. Experience Canada's team in all the colors of the game with the next innovation in TV.
Well, they tried to get it inside, and he handled that well. You can see how he pulls his hands in closer to his body, and that got the barrel to the baseball. He's off to a great start.
It's pretty good for a 6'6" guy because, like you said, against tall guys like that, a lot of people say don't let him get his arms extended, try to get it in on him, but he did a good job with it. Now from 6'6" you go to 5'6", Ronald Torreyes. And Torreyes, you can see the numbers, career high in RBIs, 288 average. Bucks talked about it a couple of times in this series. When called upon, he has been terrific for the Yankees. And right now getting a chance to play every day with Starlin Castro on the DL.
Yeah, I think that's the real beauty of baseball. You can have 6'7" Aaron Judge, 6'6" Garrett Cooper, and 5'6" Ron Torreyes, and they're all making contributions to a winning effort for New York. We've seen it with Altuve. We've seen it with Pedroia. They're little guys coming big for their teams all around baseball.
We talked about Yogi Berra an inning or so ago. What was Yogi?
5'8".
5'8".
Yeah.
Sonny Gray's listed at 5'10". He's no 5'10", but he's a great pitcher.
Oh, Marcus Stroman.
Yep.
Another guy that really maximizes every bit of talent he has.
3-1. And it's high ball 4. So 2 on with nobody out here in the 5th.
This is the second walk issued by Estrada. He went through a stretch where he just couldn't throw strikes. He had a 7-walk game on the 30th of June against the Red Sox. Then he had 3 4-walk games in a span of 4 starts. He was throwing a lot of pitches and wasn't commanding the strike zone at all.
He walked 30 batters in a 33-inning stretch in that time period that you're referencing, but it's been much better his last couple of times out. Brett Gardner struck out twice tonight.
See that last follow through, he tried to throw a little bit too hard and came out of his delivery. That was the aspect we talked about in the open about alignment. You know, pitchers rely a lot on alignment, where they land, where they drive off the rubber, and how they direct themselves toward the plate. And that time he came out of his delivery and missed badly away.
And misses away again.
As a catcher, that suggests that his body is ahead of his arm, and you want to lead with your arm, and that way you're going to be able to command your pitches much more. But because he's reaching back for a little more effort, that front side opens up, his arm drags, and the ball goes up and away from Gardner.
2-0 changeup for a strike.
It is so hard as a hitter to sit on a 2-0 changeup. Missed badly with a couple of fastballs, and you say, well, I've still got to look fastball.
And if he's liable to throw a 2-0, and again, it's Russell Martin doing the pitch calling, and Estrada never shakes him off. So if Martin's liable to call it 2-0, he's liable to call it 2-1. They go back to the fastball, though, and it's fouled off 2-2.
Yeah, and Martin makes sure that the sequence of pitches is unpredictable. You just don't want to stay in any one particular pattern with any pitcher.
You see on Sportsnet 1 tonight, what an opportunity for Denis Shapovalov up in Montreal, taking on Rafael Nadal at the Rogers Cup. Fly ball to left field. And Pierce will make the catch just in fair territory for the first out. Well, the Blue Jays have done a nice job with Brett Gardner. He is 1 for 13 in this series.
Well, and Estrada pitched him perfectly. He fell behind 2-0. And Gardner, very frustrating at bat for him because he did exactly what Estrada wanted him to do. Hit a lazy fly ball to left.
The nature of the arsenal that Estrada has lends itself to fly balls much more than ground balls. You think about Marcus Stroman and his sinker and how many ground balls, how many double plays there are behind him. A different kettle of fish for Marco Estrada. Fastball changeup guy, a lot of fly balls, and very few, relatively speaking, very few ground balls.
Well, he gives up so much with his velocity that when he spins it with his four-seam spin, the hitters have a tendency to hit the bottom half of the baseball, and that'll get you pop-ups and fly balls. For Marcus Stroman, the hitters hit the top half of his sinking fastball, and that produces a lot of ground balls.
Change up for a strike. And here are the numbers to back it up. Nobody in the American League gets a lower percentage of ground balls than Marco Estrada. And generally speaking, that is not necessarily a recipe for success, but this is the way it's always been for Marco. Whether he's pitching great in his 2 great years that he had in 15 and 16 for the Blue Jays, the numbers were very similar.
Right, he gave up a lot of fly balls, but he certainly wasn't giving up the batting average the last 2 years that he's given up this year. He had the best combined batting average over 2015 and 2016. Hitters hit .203 against him for those 2 years. I mean, that's a terrific testament to his ability to locate his pitches.
2 on with 1 out. And the 2-1 to Hicks. Back to the changeup. It's referred to sometimes as pitching backwards, throwing off-speed pitches in fastball counts, but Estrada does it so much I don't think there's anything backwards about it for him.
Yeah, and I don't think it's backwards anymore because everybody does it. And everybody is shying away from those fastballs, and they use a lot of off-speed pitches, a lot of breaking balls when they have quote-unquote hitter counts.
Another change and a lazy fly ball. Who's going to get there? Refsnyder will. He went a long way and then turned around and made a great throw to third to make sure nobody was going anywhere.
A good effort by Refsnyder, and he ran a long way. He was the only one that had a shot at making this catch. You see, he breaks on it quickly. Smoke gives up. Carrera can't get there. Refsnyder makes the catch and then wheels and fires to third, just in case the runner Cooper was tagging at second.
But Estrada's not out of the woods yet. Here is Aaron Judge with 2 men on, 2 out. 3-0 Blue Jays, top of the 5th. Hits even at 4 apiece. Judge has walked and doubled. The double is first hit in the series.
Now put yourself on the mound, and Aaron Judge is standing there at home plate, and you're looking in and saying, okay, where can I throw this that he can't reach it? There are not many spots in there that you say, this is a good spot. I can attack this spot. But look at that image he presents from center field. Like, He is a big man, fills up the entire batter's box. His arms allow him to cover anything out over the plate. And you think, I don't know if I can get it inside on him. There are not many places that say, pitch me here.
He actually wanted to run that fastball in further than he did, but Judge took it for a strike. And now Marco's out in front of 1-2. High in the air down the right field line. Carrera running out of room, won't have a play. You can see in his brief time in the major leagues, Judge has had some success against Estrada.
Well, he's had success against a lot of people this year, especially hitting .295. I mean, you could call off the season right now and he'd be Rookie of the Year.
Estrada has his sign. Big pitch coming. Again, the 1-2. Got him. Change up away. Estrada gets the call, gets the strikeout, and gets out of trouble here in the 5th. It is his 6th strikeout on the night, and none bigger than this one against Aaron Judge. Bautista will lead off the bottom of the 5th for the Blue Jays, who enjoy a 3-0 lead on the Yankees right now. Bautista with a home run last night, his 35th home run against the Yankees in his career. He and Evan Longoria share the lead among active ball players.
Yeah, and you would expect it to be 4 AL East players: Bautista, Longoria, Davis, and Jones, the top 4 home run hitters against the Yankees among active players. Of course, they all play in the East. Bautista's home run last night, he really got this splitter that just kind of ran inside. It was flat, ran along the plane of the bat, and he was able to hammer it to the back wall of the bullpen.
Tonight, a strikeout and a walk for Bautista, who after he walked stole second and then came in on an RBI single by Josh Donaldson. Blue Jays with single runs in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, trying to take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees here this week.
Sooner or later, the Blue Jays are going to have to win 6 or 7 in a row if they really want to get back into it. 2 out of 3 is not going to get it, because the teams they're playing at this point of the season are AL East teams, and you just don't gain any ground winning 2 out of 3.
You know, you can say they're 5 out, and then it doesn't sound so daunting. But then you look at 6 or 7 teams ahead of them trying to get a wild card spot. And if you think that at the very least, I mean, normally the second wild card is 87, 88, 89. Even if you say it's 85, that by some freak an 85 win team gets in this year, The Blue Jays still have to go 32-17 the rest of the way just to get to 85. Ground ball to short. The math is not in their favor right now.
No, and the only way you're going to have a winning second half of your season is if you pitch well. You got to have starting pitching night in and night out, keep the opponents down to give your team an opportunity to take leads. And then you can pitch the upper tier of your bullpen, the Barnes and Leones and Taperas and Osunas. But the starting pitching, that's what dictated what the Blue Jays did last year. That's no mystery. J.A. Happ had a 20-win season. Marco Estrada was terrific. Sanchez led the league in earned run average. Stroman had a good year. And they're just down this year because their starters, either for lack of performance or injury, have not been the same.
Martin hits one off the end of the bat out to second. And when they've had to dip down into the minors to replace starters who have been ineffective or injured, the results have not been good. Their record in games not started by the 5 guys who were in the rotation at the beginning of the season, the Blue Jays are 9-16 overall, and the starters, and this includes Nick Tepesch, who made his Blue Jay debut last night, the other guys who have filled in for those 5 starters are 3-14 with an ERA up near 6. The numbers just they have not been good for the Blue Jays at all. You always need more than 5. It's rare to need just 6 or 7. The Blue Jays have used 11 this year, and number 12 is coming on Saturday. Perhaps Chris Rowley. The Blue Jays need a starter for the middle game against Pittsburgh.
Well, and that's why last year was such a perfect storm for the Blue Jays in a positive way, because they only used 7 starters. And they only used 7 starters because they made a trade and picked up Liriano.
And Drew Hutchison made 2 starts.
Yeah.
So 6 guys started 160 of the 162 games.
Well, when you think about it, Nick Tepesch made his first start last night. Casey Lawrence has made 2 starts. Cesar Valdez has made 3. Matt Latos has made 3. Mike Bolsinger has made 5. Aaron Sanchez has only made 8, and Joe Biagini made 11. I mean, that's just too much to ask for guys that don't have a lot of experience and haven't been really throwing up to their standards.
The 2-0 to Donaldson. Donaldson denied a pop-up and an RBI single. And Gray knows very well there's no guarantee Donaldson is not swinging here 3-0. Of course, these guys are ex-teammates. Donaldson was with Oakland for a couple of the early years for Sonny Gray there. Looked like he was geared up to swing, decided to take it, and it's a borderline pitch called a strike.
Yeah, that's a good pitch to take. You're not going to do much with it, even though it was called a strike. Sonny Gray came up in 2013, midway through the season, and Donaldson's last season there was 2014.
At the knees, a full count. Justin Smoke waiting on deck if the inning continues. And ball 4. Another walk drawn by Donaldson. He walked 3 times last night.
Well, and that's a real sign of discipline for Josh Donaldson. Everybody knows he's missed a lot of time and he wants to put up big numbers, but he's taken his walks. He hasn't expanded his strike zone, and he's just done a terrific job. He drew 3 walks last night, as you mentioned, Dan. His 3rd game this season with 3 walks or more, and he's been issued now 30 free passes since the end of June.
So a man aboard for Justin Smoke, a fly ball and a strikeout tonight. Coming off an 0-for-4 night last night. Did have a double and 3 trips in Tuesday's game. And he was in swing mode on that first pitch. He was looking to do some damage. Chased away, and it's 0-1. Hits are even at 4 apiece. Blue Jays lead 3-0. The RBIs belonging to Ryan Goins, Josh Donaldson, and Kevin Pillar. Over the outside corner, 0-2. Second start in a Yankee uniform for Sonny Gray. Steve Pearce, who had a big base hit his last time up, waits on deck. 0-2. Ground ball to short, flip to second. That's the inning. Blue Jays will leave a man on. We're at the end of 5 at Rogers Center. It's still 3-0 for the home side. Enjoying those comfy green chairs in the TD Comfort Zone are guests from one of TD's community partners. We go to the top of the 6th inning at Rogers Center. Pretty good seats down there where they are. We're not complaining about our vantage point up here behind home plate. As we go to the 6th rubber match of this 3-game series, Marco Estrada's had a good night. 5 shutout innings. He's allowed 4 hits. He's walked only 1, and he has struck out 6. The Yankees have stranded 6 men already, and 5 of them have been left on in scoring position. Here's Didi Gregorius, and a cutter in under his hands for a called strike. Yeah. Gregorius with a double his first time up.
Estrada has really kept the Yankees off stride, and Russell, we mentioned he calls the game, but he has made such good pitches with that breaking ball there, the cutter. You could see Gregorius was looking for something away, and he got surprised by that first pitch.
You know, Buck, the way Estrada has righted the ship and is looking like himself again makes for some interesting possibilities just this year. It is no guarantee that maybe his name isn't still coming up, that maybe other teams aren't calling the Blue Jays and inquiring about Marco Estrada. You can still make trades after July the 31st. It just, though, waivers are involved before you can trade anybody. After July 31st, if a player clears waivers, he can get traded to anybody. If he gets claimed on waivers, and here's where it gets a little bit more complicated. There's a check swing tapper back to the mound. The order of claiming players on waivers is worst record to best record in your own league, and then worst to best in the other league. So let's say a team in the American League, let's just make it up, say Seattle, claimed Marco Estrada. At that point, the process stops, and because he was claimed by Seattle, then the Blue Jays could only trade him to Seattle.
Right.
But if he gets through waivers, he can get traded to any of the other 29 teams.
Right. So if Seattle were to claim him, and they say, okay, now we'll work out a deal, then you negotiate and you try to work out a deal that's going to get that trade done. And we're talking about this always in speculation, but Marco Estrada is a valuable commodity because he has pitched well the last 2 seasons. He's throwing the ball well right now, and he's got a terrific postseason track record. He pitched maybe the best games for the postseason for the Blue Jays in the last 2 seasons. After Kansas City had that big game here at Rogers Center, he came back the next night and shut them down totally. And he got the Blue Jays back in the series in 15 against Texas after they lost the first 2 games. And he's pitched big games. And even his starts against the Cleveland Indians last year, gave up a home run to Lindor and pitched a complete game. So, yeah, he's got a very good postseason resume.
And this could go a number of ways. He could finish out the season with the Blue Jays and re-sign. He could finish out the season, become a free agent, and sign with somebody else. But even if they trade him, he could still re-sign with the Blue Jays for next year, like Aroldis Chapman did with the Yankees when he was traded to the Cubs and re-signed with the Yankees after the season. The two are not really related at all, unless you're the Blue Jays saying, well, hey, if we trade him somewhere else and he really loves that spot, then there's less of a chance that he'll come back. But I don't think that factors into play, really. I think if the Blue Jays get overwhelmed by a deal, they'll make a deal in order to better the team for the future. But you know, Marco has said, hey, he loves it here, and he'd entertain the possibility of coming back next season. I'm sure the Blue Jays would be open to it as well.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting how the rest of this month is going to play out, because if indeed you were going to be acquired by a pennant contending team, you have to be on their roster by August 31st to be eligible for the postseason. So that's where that deadline becomes important. So if you're going to trade for Estrada, you certainly want him eligible for the postseason.
Yep. Another example of a guy who just got traded, and it was after July 31st deadline. Jay Bruce just got traded. He's got a contract actually very similar to Estrada, both of them around $13 million a year, which means there's what, $4 to $4.5 million left on their contracts.
4.2 on Jay Bruce's contract at this point. And I'm a little surprised he didn't make his way to Tampa Bay to play in that game tonight.
Not in the lineup. So just because it's August doesn't mean that guys can't get traded. And with each start, if Estrada continues to look more and more like himself, there'll be a little more interest from other teams. Now, whether the Blue Jays want to trade him, whether they can come to terms, who knows? Joe Girardi didn't like that strike call, as you can see. He thought that ball was low. Todd Frazier now with a 2-2 count on him. Jammed him, but Frazier's going to fight it off into right field for a base hit.
Canada's favorite car cheers for Canada's favorite team, Honda. Proud fan since 1977 and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
And the moment has come. The phone is ringing down to the bullpen. John Gibbons told Pete Walker he wants to get up. Walker's relaying the information down to the bullpen, and there's now a lot of activity going on down there. .95 pitches now thrown by Estrada. Jacoby Ellsbury the batter. Yankees have had men on in 5 of the 6 innings. They've had all kinds of opportunities, but Estrada's made some big pitches to get out of trouble. Meanwhile, in the pen, the right-hander is Leonel Campos, the left-hander Aaron Loup. Dominic Leone's pitched 3 days in a row, so we can maybe assume that Leone is down today. This would kind of be a Leone spot, you would think, if he were available. So maybe Leone is out of the mix. Bullpen has been worked hard. Popped up. A big second out.
Well, Marco always says when he's getting pop-ups, that's when he knows he's right. He was able to get that pop-up off the bat of Jacoby Ellsbury in a situation like that. That's a huge out. So now he can take a deep breath, regroup, take his time getting back to the mound. And they're going to have Campos sit down now. Loup continues to throw.
And that would be for Gardner, presumably, who's 2 batters away. We've talked all season long about the Blue Jays' well-documented struggles with runners in scoring position. They've got the worst batting average in those situations in the baseball. But tonight it's the Yankees who are struggling. By my count, they are 0 for 7 tonight with runners in scoring position.
Last night they were 5 for 13 and scored 11 runs on 17 hits. So that once again validates just how tough Estrada has been in these run-producing situations.
But Garrett Cooper has beaten him twice, a double and a single. Good changeup there. Blue Jays have not had an answer for Cooper, who's 8 for 10 in the series. Pete Walker to Marlo Hale, trying to help Estrada get through this. Next pitch, number 100 for Marco. High fly ball to left field. Pierce there, and Estrada does it again. The Yankees lead 2 more men on. Pitch number 100 may have been his last of the night, but it means 6 shutout innings for Estrada.
We want your opinion. After 40 seasons, how would you rank the Blue Jays' 40 greatest players? Go to sportsnet.ca to select your top 40 list.
You see those people there in all the white t-shirts. They are there to celebrate that lady right there in the middle. That's her 95th birthday, and she's a terrific fan. And all of those family members, I'm the grandson, I'm the granddaughter, I'm the daughter, I'm a fan, and they have all come here to celebrate her birthday. And what a great tribute to a huge Blue Jay fan.
That's really cool. Bottom of 6, 3-0 Blue Jays, and Steve Pearce will lead it off against Sonny Gray. Pearce a strikeout and a base hit. Went around. It's 0-1. Pearce, Carrera, and Goins all have been involved in the offense tonight. Pearce has singled and scored. Carrera has doubled and scored. And Goins drove in a run on a fielder's choice and also had a walk figure into another rally. Fouled off. You know, Pearce is another guy. We talked about Estrada and how contenders might want him. And Pearce is in a different situation. He's signed for another year. But he's a guy who can play some different positions, and he can obviously swing the bat. He can help you in a full-time role, part-time role, DH, pinch hit, whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying he's going to be dealt, but I'm sure his name is still coming up. I don't think he would be claimed on waivers because he's got about $6.5 million, I believe, coming to him next year. He's probably a guy who would clear waivers, as so many players do. So I would imagine that his name has come up between Blue Jays brass and some other teams in the last 10 days or so.
Well, it's kind of academic because if you make a trade, you're responsible for his contract too, and it just makes the possibilities are endless, really. And it depends. I mean, these things can go down to some guy getting hurt, and all of a sudden you got a need that you didn't expect. When you think about the Jay Bruce trade, the Cleveland Indians outfield have combined to hit 37 home runs this year. They needed some pop in their outfield. Jay Bruce has 29 home runs. He's got almost as many as the entire outfield for the Indians. This is a good curveball. We haven't seen many of these curveballs from Sonny Gray, but he picks a good time to use it to strike out Pierce. The outfield production of Cleveland is the 6th fewest home runs by an outfield in the major leagues.
The one team, though, that jumps out at me, a contending team that you'd think was going to or still should make a move, is the Astros going out and getting another starting pitcher. I mean, Lance McCullers back on the DL, and Keuchel is struggling, and you know, Justin Verlander's name has come up a lot. Now, Verlander's making a ton of money. I think if there was going to be a trade there, the Tigers would have to eat a lot of that money in order to get a deal done. But Verlander looked pretty good his last time out.
We were told in Houston that Verlander would not go anywhere other than Chicago or New York.
That makes it more difficult to trade him to Houston.
Very difficult to trade him to Houston. He has a no trade clause.
He's got no trade. That's another complication, right? Like Jose Bautista, he has a no trade clause. He has 10-5 protection.
And Houston, and it was a pretty prominent person that told me, was surprised because they thought, well, he'd want to go to a winner. He's been a winner. He's pitched in the postseason. He's pitched in the World Series, and we have a good team. And he would be, obviously, he'd be game one starter in their playoff series.
Right. And it's one thing sometimes to go to a team if your contract is up and you say, okay, I'll go there for a couple of months, then I'm a free agent and I'll figure it out.
Then you get to pick.
Yeah. Then you get to choose. But he's got, I think, 2 more years, I believe, left on his deal.
It's sizable money, I might add.
Yes. Goins a fielder's choice and an RBI, and he's also walked. Aaron Luke now being joined by Ryan Tepera. So this suggests the possibility that either Tepera or Osuna might work more than an inning tonight to bring this one home. See how it plays out. Big swing and a miss, and there's what you were talking about with Goins, the different approach with men on base versus nobody on base. That swing, right?
Yeah, and he has in his mind an extra base hit, and that's fine, but you can get extra base hit with a short approach too. And now he's behind 1-2, but it's that big long swing, and Ryan's not a home run hitter. That's not his game.
Little exaggerated delay there by Sonny Gray, longer than normal on that last delivery. Left-hander Chasen Shreve now up in the Yankees bullpen.
That magic number for pitch count, 100.
He's at it. That's exactly where Estrada finished off at the end of the last half inning. 1-2 again.
You know, and it's such an arbitrary number. Marco really had to work to get through that last inning, and he threw 100 pitches. I mean, every inning is different as far as the stress level. Depends on where you are in the lineup, who's out, what the score is, and I don't think you can just say 100 pitches. He has the same level of exhaustion from game to game.
Right.
It's just not the case.
And there's been no handshake. Estrada's still there, so maybe Marco comes back out just to face Torreyes. Gets one batter in the 7th, and Luke comes in to face Gardner. You retired in 1986. Do you ever remember in all of your years catching anybody saying in the dugout, how many pitches does he have? How many pitches has he thrown? Do you ever remember that once when you played?
No, I don't.
Not once.
It wasn't part of the game.
Yeah.
And old pitching coaches tell you the hitters will let you know when he's tired. But we seem to be ahead of it now, saying, okay, well, he's tired and he'll probably get hit next inning.
Swing and a miss by Goins. Great run on that pitch from Gray, his 6th strikeout of the night. And that'll end the inning. We will see if Estrada comes back. Sure looks like it. Coming back out for the 7th. Cast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Another good night for Marco Estrada. There have been some men on base, but he has made some very big pitches to get out of some jams. What a slide earlier tonight from Ezequiel Carrera to score the first run of the night. The Blue Jays lead 3-0 going to the 7th. Estrada is indeed back of the mound, at least for one batter, as Ronald Torreyes leads it off. Again, Tepera and Loop are both up in the bullpen right now. And Torreyes lifts a lazy fly ball into right field. And Carrera's there for the first out. And we'll see what John Gibbons is thinking right now. Left-hand hitting Brett Gardner is due up. Estrada's retired him all 3 times tonight, 2 by strikeout. And no sign of Gibby. Looks like he's going to let Estrada stay to face Gardner.
Yeah, there's no reason to change at this point. You have a 3-run lead. Gardner's 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. For his career, he is 6 for 38 against Marco Estrada. So Brett Gardner's probably thinking, hey, John, I think you should take him out.
Down and away, ball 1.
Marco has had back-to-back 7 innings outings this season. The 6th time he has pitched 7 or more innings in a ball game. Last year he had 10 such games. Over the course of the entire season, he made 29 starts, and 10 of those starts he pitched 7 or more innings.
Gibby didn't like that call, getting on Jerry Meals a little bit. Just part of the natural give and play between a manager and an umpire all night long, trying to buy a call or two. Fly ball left field. Let's check in again with Jamie.
I like that. He made an effort to get there, got there, and came up as a pinch hitter. And why wouldn't you, when you go from the Mets to the Indians, a chance to get into the postseason?
Gives them a pretty formidable middle of the lineup right now. Well, right from the top, you think of Lindor leading off, Kipnis second, say Ramirez third, Edwin Encarnacion fourth, and Jay Bruce fifth. That's a lot of pop.
Yeah, Kipnis hasn't done much since he's come off the DL. In fact, Ursula took over for him in that game tonight. But they got a good lineup, man, and you put Jay Bruce in there, it's really going to add length to their lineup. They have their rotation set up perfectly for the 4-game series against Tampa Bay. Salazar, Carrasco, Clevenger, and Kluber.
Big breaking curveball in for a strike, 1-2. Estrada's gotten 2 quick outs here in the 7th, trying to make it a 3-up, 3-down inning. Keeps throwing zeros up on the board against the Yankees. Change up lined hard but foul down the right side.
Yeah, and this is the way Marco pitched the last 2 years coming into this season. He was 22-17 combined between 15 and 60. Then he had 2 great years of postseason pitching for the Blue Jays and got off to a good start, and then June hit and everything fell apart for him, but he's back on track now.
One, 2 again. Broken back, ground ball to second. Ref Snyder up with it and on to first. They do get him on the tag by Smoke. And that is 7 shutout innings tonight for Marco Estrada. Performance tonight for Marco Estrada, and some pats on the back and handshakes after he came off after 7 innings, 3 up, 3 down, 7. And the Blue Jays still enjoying that 3-0 lead, trying to take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. And a pitching change for the Yankees. Here is left-hander Chasen Shreve.
1 or 2 lefties they have down in their bullpen. The other, of course, is the closer, oldest Chapman, Chasen Shreve. 27 years old. He was drafted out of the College of Southern Nevada. That's in Las Vegas. The significance of that is that's where Bryce Harper was drafted. He went to college, got out of high school early, went to that junior college and became draft eligible. So Shreve, originally drafted by Atlanta, he was traded to New York with David Carpenter for Manny Banuelos back in 2015. Remember those days when it was Banuelos and Betances were going to be the next 2 starters for the Yankees?
It took one of them a while, but it's paid off handsomely, and the other guy never quite got there. And as Kevin Pillar had an RBI single his last time up, 1 for 2 on the night. It's got to be a frustrating game for Joe Girardi to watch. His team has had all kinds of opportunities. They've had men in scoring position. They haven't been able to get the big hit. And then you look at the Blue Jays' 3 runs. In 1 inning, there was a throwing error and a fielder's choice. In the next inning, there was a walk, a steal, and a base hit. And the next inning, a sacrifice and a walk figured into it. It's not like the Blue Jays are, crushing the ball to the alleys or anything. As Pillar lofts one down the left field line, but foul. But they have nibbled here and nibbled there, and they've managed to score 3 runs.
He had the same frustration last night when the Yankees were up 3-2. He goes, wait a minute, we've hit 3 home runs. They have 1 hit, and it's a 3-2 game, and I'm on the edge of my seat. What's wrong with this picture? And this is the same type of game tonight. He said, we're hitting the ball all over the yard. We haven't scored yet.
And Pillar is down on strikes for out number 1.
Canada's favorite car cheers for Canada's favorite team, Honda. Proud fan since 1977 and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Beautiful night in Toronto, bottom of the 7th. Blue Jays and Yankees finishing off their series before the Blue Jays get set to welcome the Pittsburgh Pirates over the weekend. Robert F. Snyder looks at a strike. Jamison Tyone will be on the mound for the Pirates tomorrow night. Marcus Stroman in the first game for the Blue Jays. Trevor Williams against still to be announced by the Blue Jays. John Gibbons intimated that perhaps they would announce after the game tonight who the Saturday starter would be. It has been rumored to be Chris Rowley, who is at AAA Buffalo. And then Sunday afternoon, Chad Kuhl, who's throwing the ball very well right now against Jay Happ. So Marcus Stroman 10-5 with a 3.17 ERA. It's the start of the series opener tomorrow night. 0-2.
Pittsburgh has really been up and down in the way they have played lately. The Pirates, they played earlier this afternoon, and they beat the Tigers 7-5 in Detroit. They're probably already in Toronto by now.
They're a game under 500 in 4th place in their division, but they're only 3 games out of 1st. The Cubs just have not been able to break away. High fly ball to right, but room for Judge. And the Cubs, Cardinals, the resurgent Cardinals, who have won 5 in a row, Brewers and Pirates, and maybe 4 teams fighting for 1 playoff spot.
Yeah, and there's a lot of interesting teams. Kansas City and St. Louis are in St. Louis tonight. The Royals lost the first 3 to the Cardinals, and then they played the first 2 in Kansas City, switched to St. Louis for the next 2. And the Kansas City Royals, they had a 9-game win streak, and they have since lost 9 of 12. Jose
Bautista 0 for 2 with a walk.
Mentioned Houston earlier. They're leading the White Sox 1-0 bottom of the 5th in Chicago. The White Sox, they're having a terrible season, obviously, but they're on the verge of sweeping the Astros. Chicago has lost 23 of their last 29. But with a win tonight, they will have swept the 3-game series.
High drive, deep left field. Bautista with another home run. His 3rd in 4 games. 4-0 Blue Jays.
That home run, now he is the all-time active home run leader against the Yankees with 36. Broke the tie with Evan Longoria.
Second in as many games, 19th on the season for Bautista, and the Blue Jays add to their lead.
This is his first hit against Chasen Shreve. He was 0 for 1, and he really kind of got that toward the end of the bat, but he had such a great follow through. He stayed on the ball and knocks it out of the ballpark for home run number 19. Got it in the air and gets enough of it to hit it over the wall in left. Big insurance run for the Blue Jays here in the 7th.
As you said, 2 out of 3 is nice. It's not enough at this point of the season, given the situation the Blue Jays face in the standings. But if they can win tonight, they got to get on a run. But if they can do some damage against Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay, have a heck of a homestand, put together maybe an 8-2 or something like that, they'll pass a couple of teams and maybe make the math a little bit more in their favor. The problem is there are so many teams ahead of them. You could win, but 4 of the 6 teams ahead of you could win as well, and then you're not really helping yourself.
Yeah,
that
and
much.
you've got to knock off a few of those teams.
Yeah.
You've got to leapfrog over them before you can really consider yourself a serious contender.
No, they got to have a good series against Tampa Bay. There's no 2 ways about it.
You know, the home run by Bautista is 19th. One more home run and he'll have 8 20 or more home run seasons. The home run 327th of his career. Two-time home run champ, hit 54 in 2010, 43 in 2011. With one more home run and he'll have 8 20 home run seasons.
Martin is gone to end the inning. But a home run for Bautista. The Blue Jays add to their lead. We're through 7 right now. The 19th home run of the season for Bautista has given the Blue Jays a 4-0 lead. Of the game brought to you by the powerful all-new 2017 Civic Type R.
Jose Bautista with 2 outs squares up a Jason Shreve offering and hits it deep over the wall in left field. For Bautista, it's his 3rd home run in his last 4 games. That gives him 19 for the season. And Jose had a long homerless drought before this recent stretch of 4 games. He had no home runs in his previous 18 games. Now he's hit 3 in his last 4.
And the new pitcher for the Blue Jays as we move to the 8th inning is right-hander Ryan Tepera.
Well, Tepera has had a breakthrough season. His 51st appearance of the season. He's 6-1. Look at the batting averages against Tepera. Righty's hitting 187. Lefty's not doing much more. His whip is just over 1, and he has really gained a lot of confidence and trust of his manager, John Gibbons. He gets the 8th inning on a regular basis now.
Tepera pitched a couple of nights ago in the opener to this series, went an inning and a third through 29 pitches, and struck out Aaron Judge looking in that game to end the 7th. He faces Judge here to begin the 8th tonight. Outstanding performance by Marco Estrada tonight. Got a chance to work that extra inning. Went back out for the 7th, already having thrown 100 pitches, and retired the Yankees in order. John Gibbons, gave him a little more leash and allowed him to throw a few more pitches. He was pitching well, and Estrada made it pay off handsomely.
His last 21 innings, covering those last 3 starts, he's allowed just 14 hits. It's a little bit more like we expected from Estrada, and he's really throwing the ball well right now. Marco had 3 walks in the game, but he had 6 strikeouts. And another thing, kept the ball in the ballpark. For his career, he has surrendered 17 home runs to the Yankees. That's the most he's given up to one team.
2-2 to Judge. Strike 3 called. 2nd strikeout tonight for Judge. Well, the numbers don't lie. A really good night for Estrada, and did a lot of his best work, Buck, with men on base.
The Yankees had base runners in 5 of the 7 innings he pitched tonight, but he was able to come up with the big pitches when he needed to. He stranded 2 in the 1st, 2 in the 5th, and 2 in the 6th. 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. He made some big pitches when he had to.
Fastball for a strike to Didi Gregorius. The Yankee shortstop 1 for 3, doubled back in the 1st. 4 runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Blue Jays. They have left 4. No runs, 5 hits, 1 error for the Yankees. They have left 8. Jose Bautista with the only home run of the game. Tepera coming right after people.
Yeah, this is a perfect pitcher to follow Marco Estrada into a game. Estrada rarely throws a fastball higher than 90, and Tepera lives at 95. You got to turn it up a notch quickly.
You know, you think back to the beginning of the season, and Plan A was Joe Smith in the 7th, Jason Grilli in the 8th, Roberto Osuna in the 9th. Tepera was a guy based on last year, up and down, still trying to solidify himself as a big league pitcher, just trying to stay. And he has done a whole lot more than that this year.
Yeah, he certainly has, and he has earned the right to pitch these tough innings late in the game. Look at Gary Sanchez in the background, trying to get a feel for the timing of it as he's inched closer and closer behind home plate. Right. And watch how he will time Tepera as he comes set.
Popped up on the infield, and it'll be Goins.
Hit a home run with any project this season. Home Hardware, proud sponsor of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Buck, better than 43,000 people at Rogers Center tonight for the final game of this series with the Yankees. Better than 123,000 over the 3-game series. The Blue Jays continue to lead the American League in attendance on the season.
Yeah, you know what, the last 2 years have fueled this great turnout this season, and they're hopeful that it'll finish up in the same manner this year. But you go to the postseason 2 years in a row where everybody wants to come to the ballpark and watch you play.
Gary Sanchez 0 for 2 with a walk. Last 4 starts now for Marco Estrada, a 2.08 ERA and a 1.81 opponent's batting average. Up high.
See, I think the 181 opponent's batting average is the big, real important number, because they were hitting over 300 against him for the season, and that's the one thing that he did so well in his previous 2 seasons. He just took the sting out of everybody's bat. Nobody hit him hard. Yeah, he gave up his home runs, but combined in those 2 seasons, the opponent's batting average was just over 200.
Fouled off, 1-2. Blue Jays have won 9 of their last 15 games, 9-6 in that stretch over 15 games, 53-60 on the season. Trying to take the series from the Yankees and head into the weekend series with the Pirates with some momentum. With Marcus Stroman on the mound in the opener tomorrow night. 1-2 the count, and down and away with a breaking ball, 2-2. Pirates, as we mentioned, with a lot to play for. They're just 3 games out of the National League Central, a 4-team race. And a ground ball is going to find a hole up the middle, a base hit for Sanchez.
Good at bat for Gary Sanchez. He laid off some tough pitches away and gets the ball, just takes the ground ball up the middle, base hit, keep the inning going. Goins is shaded in the hole, and it's just a routine ground ball that sneaks through the infield.
And now Todd Frazier. Check swing foul off. You know, we mentioned Jameson Taillon will be on the mound for the Pirates tomorrow night. Taillon was born in Lakeland, Florida, but both of his parents are Canadian. His dad was born in Cornwall, I believe, and his mom in the Toronto area. So he's probably pretty excited to come back to Toronto and pitch a game.
Yeah, he grew up in the Woodlands, Texas, and he pitched down there as a high school kid, but he certainly has Canadian roots and deep ones.
Tepera out in front, 0-2.
Pirates haven't been to Rogers Center since 2011. This will just be their 3rd trip to the Rogers Center, 2003 and 2011.
And our man Scotty Carson showing us that Jameson Taillon tweeted out today, "Oh Canada, our home and native land, excited to see friends and family in one of my favorite cities." Although Jameson, in that tweet, you should spell favorite the Canadian way, not the American way. Should put a U in there. But other than that, it's a great tweet.
Hey, he went to high school in Texas.
One ball, 2 strikes. Refsnyder back to his feet and on to first to get him. A good play by the former Yankee to end the inning. No runs, a base hit and a man left. We go bottom 8. And the Blue Jays still enjoying the lead. Time now for another Blue Jays Central update. Jamie Campbell and Kevin Barker are in the same
It's the Friday Fan Festival presented by Bacardi. Join us on our outdoor patio at gates 10 and 11 for a pregame DJ showcase featuring Jed Harper, DJ Deluxe, and your boy Brian. Patio opens at 4:30. You can get your tickets at bluejays.com, guys.
Thank you, Sean. Looking forward to a long homestand. 3 against the Pirates, then 4 against the Rays. A little giant Jenga outside. And a crowd of better than 43,000 inside enjoying the Blue Jays and this 4-0 lead. Jason Tree back on the mound for the Yankees going to the bottom of the 8th. Josh Donaldson will lead it off. Nobody up in the Yankee pen, so it looks like Joe Girardi, given the score, the situation, and given the fact the Yankees are about to open a series with the Red Sox tomorrow night. Looks like he's going to avoid using some of his higher level relievers, the guys at the top of the ladder. Wants to save them for Boston. Yankees are 6-3 against the Red Sox this year, but the Red Sox lead the division. Donaldson's popped one up. Frazier, the third baseman, into foul territory, makes the catch. And J.P. Howell and Roberto Osuna are both up in the bullpen right now for the Blue Jays.
It's a 4-run lead, and it's not a save opportunity. It's kind of interesting that Osuna would be up. J.P. Howell faced one batter last night and got a strikeout.
There's Smoke. Turns around to bat from the right side against the left-hander Shreve. Smoke 0 for 3 tonight. And hits one weakly off the end of the bat. Shreve's got to get over to cover and wins the race. 2 down.
Now, you mentioned the Boston Red Sox. They won 8 in a row. Their longest win streak since last September. And they had the infusion of Nunez and Devers, the 2 additions to their roster. Devers from the minor leagues, Nunez in a trade. Rob Thompson, the bench coach, talking to Joe Girardi about where they're at in the lineup. The possibility the bullpen is quiet, so they might be talking about the possibility of a pinch hitter.
Steve Pearce 1 for 3. Singleton scored back in the 4th. In the 2nd inning, Ezekiel Carrera doubled, went to third on a throwing error on a pickoff attempt, and scored on a fielder's choice off the bat of Ryan Goins. Blue Jays got another run in the 3rd when Josh Donaldson singled home Jose Bautista. In the 4th, Pierce singled. It advanced on a sacrifice by Carrera that eventually scored on a base hit by Kevin Pillar. And in the 7th, Bautista launched his 19th home run of the season. So kind of a team effort up and down the lineup. No crooked numbers, just a run here, a run there. But thanks to that and Marco Estrada, it's been enough tonight.
Yeah, once again, you get a well-pitched game from your starter. Let the offense do their thing, and they manufactured a couple of runs tonight. And just playing a little aggressively. Remember, Bautista got in scoring position by moving on the pitch when Martin struck out in the 3rd. Picked up a stolen base.
And doing it, of course, without Kendrys Morales. If you weren't with us off the top of the show, Morales was a late scratch due to illness. Nori Aoki also is under the weather. So a very short bench for the Blue Jays tonight. (3-1). Inside corner of a strike, the count full.
Well, pitch cast looks like it's a strike, but the way Sanchez caught it, it looked much worse than it may have been, as Sanchez really struggled to catch that ball and took it out of the strike zone. But you can see on pitch cast it looks like it was in the strike zone, but watch the catcher, how he really fights to catch this ball, and gave the umpire kind of a rough assignment.
And he went around to strike out and end the inning. Frustrating at bat for Steve Pearce. We go to the ninth. Who's it going to be for the Blue Jays? Who's coming out of the pen? Doors open. Looks like Roberto Osuna making his way onto the field.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by award-winning Honda Marine. Great days on the water begin with Honda.
Top of the ninth inning at Rogers Center with the Blue Jays 3 outs away from a win and a series victory over the New York Yankees, up 4-0. And Osuna Matata is exactly what they're hoping for. It is a 4-run lead, not a save situation, but it is Roberto Osuna into the game.
Yeah, and you've got a lead here in the ninth. Tepera threw 19 pitches in his inning of work, so instead of asking him to stretch it out, you go ahead and bring Osuna into this situation. Roberto did not pitch in last night's game. He pitched in the opener and had a clean inning, just 9 pitches on Monday to pick up his 29th save.
Jacoby Ellsbury leads off the ninth for the Yankees. Ellsbury is 0 for 3 tonight. Backdoor slider there from Osuna to jump out in front 0-2.
Osuna second in the American League to Alex Colomé of the Rays. Colomé has 33 saves. Osuna has 1 more save than Craig Kimbrell. Brandon Kinsler, who is no longer pitching with the Minnesota Twins, he too has 28 saves.
1-2. Bounced weakly towards first, and it'll get foul before Smoke can get to it. Marco Estrada goes 7 shutout innings tonight, allows 5 hits, 3 walks. He strikes out 6. Ryan Tepera works the 8th. And now Roberto Osuna on to the 9th as the Blue Jays try to make it 2 out of 3.
Osuna is making his 24th appearance against the Yankees. He has really pitched well against them. They have hit a combined 145 in the previous 23 games against him. 12 hits in 25 innings.
I know you've talked about it. We forget sometimes how young he is. He's 3 years younger than anybody else on the team.
Yeah, he's so young he didn't have any playmates. But he has done a terrific job, and he certainly pitches well beyond his years. He's calm, he's collected, he's intelligent, he's got a great feel for pitching. We have talked about this often in his recent outings, how he has really thrown a lot of cutters and a lot of sliders. He's gotten away from his fastball.
Full count pitch on the way. And he stayed away from the fastball, and he walked him after getting out in front 0-2. Time now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here are Ken Reed and Brendan Dunlop. All right, guys, looking forward to that. Leadoff man on for the Yankees here in the 9th, and here's Garrett Cooper. Cooper tonight 2 for 3, doubled in the 2nd, singled in the 5th, and flied out in the 6th. 8 for 11 in the series.
Yeah, 8 for 11 in the series, and they didn't even have Garrett Cooper in July. It started July. They traded for him. The Yankees have done a terrific job of developing talent. They've made some great trades going back to last year. Andrew Miller and Aroldis Chapman got them some terrific prospects in return. And then they go out and bring in a bat like this, a 6'6" first baseman that can swing it.
One and 2 the count. Smoke holding on Ellsbury at first. And the pitch. Got it. Inside corner for strike 3 call.
Here's that cutter inside, and it froze Cooper. There's that cut grip. He's going to throw it much like a football and create that spinning action that takes it over to the inside corner. Cooper thought it was off the plate. He quit on that pitch, and the cut action brought it back over the inside corner.
And now Chase Headley will come up to hit for Ronald Torreyes. Osuna's won most of the battles between the two, as you can see. Headley just 2 for 9, 4 strikeouts. Headley chases again.
Using that slider a lot, and we haven't seen his fastball since the Oakland series. The last time the ball club was here, he pitched 3 out of 4 of those games. He had a good fastball, 95-97. But we haven't seen him use it, and he's been effective with his slider and his cutter.
Back to the breaking ball again, and he strikes out Headley.
Now that's the slider, and he's really created a lot of depth on it. It's a little bit like an old-fashioned hard breaking ball, but it's a slider. There's a little bit different grip. He keeps his fingers on top of the baseball, and that creates that downward break. It's different than the cutter. And you can see Headley fooled badly on it, swung right over the top of it.
So the Blue Jays an out away from taking 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. Top of the order, Brett Gardner 0 for 4. Runner is going, and the Blue Jays will concede the base. Defensive indifference the call. Blue Jays won the opener 4-2, lost 11-5 last night, and up 4-0 and out away here tonight, with the Pirates coming to town tomorrow. Cutter misses inside. 2 balls and no strikes.
You see the difference in velocity. The cutter's 90-91, the slider's 83-84. So not only do the hitters have to worry about the break of the slider, it's a much slower pitch than the cutter.
.93 there. Why stay away from the 4-seamers? Are you a little worried the velocity's not where he wants it to be?
I think that's what it is, and he is so conscious of the velocity. I think he just feels like if it's not 95, it's not going to be effective, and I don't know if I agree with that.
Hitters will pick up on that really quickly too. There's one. 3-0. Takes a little off just to get it in the zone.
I think he has such good command when his fastball is right. He can throw it 93, 94, 95, just spot it. Just pitch with it. But his breaking ball has really turned into a very effective pitch. I just think he throws a few too many of them.
Walked another one. Second walk that he's given up tonight. And now the Yankees are one man away from bringing the tying run to the plate. And if Hicks can get on, it's Judge who would come up as the potential tying run. So all Hicks is trying to do somehow, some way, is get on so the big fella can come to the plate. This one not quite over yet. Asuna's got to get one more elusive out. Hicks is 0 for 4. Inside corner with a cutter for strike one.
Yeah, he's got good command of that cutter. Hicks against Osuna, just 0 for 3.
Slider swing and a miss, 0-2.
And he incorporated that hesitation a little bit to disrupt the timing, and he got the desired results. Osuna has such a feel for pitching. There's the hesitation, and he drops the slider on Hicks.
Oh-2 pitch. Got him. Osuna gets it done in the 9th inning. And the Blue Jays shut the Yankees down and take 2 out of 3.